So I just caught upon an article that's basically talking about this next decade being the Roaring Twenties. That's bad. They're talking about it as though it's just a rejuvenation and we're coming out of COVID. It's all over. First of all, I don't believe COVID's over with. I think this is another example of this Americanized ideal of the world and everything in it. India is still burning alive. They're having the black fungus over there. Why is no one talking about this? The black fungus. They're having they're burning bodies. Like it's they're like cutting down wood in forests to burn bodies. The fuel. I'm hearing about Vietnam just discovered a new strain of COVID. This is bad. These are bad things. And this is none of this is something to celebrate or be happy about. These are terrifying new developments. And as I said once again, this is that Americanized, jingoistic bullshit. But let's discuss this. Let's talk about it. They're referring to the 20s that happened after World War One, in which Germany specifically, the economy was doing very good. We're getting all these kind of loans and um, just a really great time to live in Germany. And then the Great Depression happened. They're talking about the Roaring Twenties, and let me say this. Sometimes I feel like reading these things that people are only looking at today or tomorrow, and they're not looking at the long term view. I've talked about the hysterical left, before, and this is an example of that. Not having a conceptual understanding of history and how it relates to current times. It's 2021. It's June 1st. June just started. I don't feel any joy in comparing it to the 20s of the 1920s. Because do you want another Great Depression? Is that what you guys want? You want another Great Depression? You want uh, another Hitler? Another a Fourth Reich, a Fifth Reich? Is what you want? I mean, it just Michael Brooks once talked about. There was like a journalist on Vox that was talking about how people shouldn't talk about Obama, that he wasn't president. It was Trump's president. And Michael Brooks made the point that if we can't talk about politics and talk about where people have made steps and missteps here and there, what is there to talk about? Trump's tweets. I say the same thing here. And he was talking about them not having a conceptual understanding of history, not having an understanding of where we fit in history. That our ancestors have faced some of the same crises we face now in myriad ways, not the same. Just like that, I'm referring to this. That's not a good thing. I look at COVID as a massive, massive failure. And to be honest with you, I think it had a bigger impact on Trump losing than people know or want to admit. I think there were a lot of angry white people, that are homophobic, that are racist, that we would agree with them on nothing else, but that would say, yeah, I had people die of COVID. So you know what? I don't like this. That was one of those decisions that went beyond COVID. Was one of those things that went beyond politics. He made the country less safe, and he put a lot of old people, a lot of poor people in danger. I remember reading articles about that and seeing stuff, white people in Florida saying that he could at least wear the mask. Because remember, he wouldn't wear a mask for a long time. We bought him shooting glasses. But, you know, the stuff is respiratory. How's it get in your eye and you're up on a podium? It's not gonna, it's gonna, you, I think that scared a lot of people, a lot of old white people. And I remember I remarked, I said, I don't think there's too much I would agree with the people on other than COVID. I mean, what else we have in common? Someone that's living down there in Florida and Georgia and out, nothing until their family member gets sick with COVID or dies or they get sick and have to go through the hell of getting treatment and the hell of some of them having long-term symptoms, the long haulers. I just I think that, as I said, it showed you it was a major loss for America. It was I will never again trust American public health ever. I will never again ever. This was a wake up call, and I think for many others, a wake up call as well. So you got Joe Biden. That wasn't a victory. That was a respite. Like somebody beating the hell out of you and they stop. That's like you drowning and you grab onto some driftwood. You get your head above the water for a few minutes. That isn't. You're not saved. You're not safe. You got a few breaths of air. You're. It's not safe. That's Joe Biden. You're not safe. You got your head above water for a few minutes. This is what happens when you've been down for so long. You think that the roaring 20s is a positive development. That's bad. We should learn from the past. We should learn from that. We shouldn't have these massive. I've talked about it before. Germany had a massive famine. The Great Depression hit them. The farmers had to give a lot of the stuff, the loans back. I think the money was devalued. The mark was weak. That's why they talked about how like people would pay for their meal before they'd eat because a couple hours later the dollar would it'd be worth a lot less over there, and they knew that. People, there's a joke about having a basket full of marks, and somebody dumped the money out and took the basket. We shouldn't have those worlds. That shouldn't happen anymore. People should look at that and be like, yeah, let's not have it happen again. I just it bothers me someone can be so ignorant of history and be so ignorant of what led up to the Second World War, what led up to one of the greatest disasters in human natural, well, not natural, man-made disasters in human history. Millions dead. 6 million people died in the camps. I mean, humanity should learn from these things, and humanity should grow. And sometimes I worry that we're forgetting about the lessons of the past, and just uh, how sometimes at the end of these disasters, some really bad stuff comes up. Hitler, from the Great Depression, from the hell that was the early 30s in Germany. And it wasn't just Germany, Mussolini. It wasn't just Germany. I'm just speaking about Germany because they led the war. They waged a war on America. They did, um, you had Tito, you had Mussolini, obviously, the Hirohito, guy over in Japan. Yeah, you had, a lot of people, acts of evil. Like I said, I think that we should learn, we should grow, we should understand the seriousness of these times, and there should be some in-depth. Well, I was reading an article earlier today talking about climate change and how the UN is. I'll do a video on it later. In essence, the rich are simply trying to make their money off of these crises that are to come. Disaster capitalism. So I guess nothing will be done about these things. We're just in this endless loop of buffoonery, of idiocracy. Thank you for listening.